It's a vital city, Detroit, a dynamic, creative, productive part of America. A big, growing, modern city whose changing face reflects the vigor of her strength. From the temples of her science and the matrix of research come ideas that extend the reach of man beyond the horizons of the earth, and the delicate skill to probe deep into the immeasurable smallness of the atom. In the crucible of her throbbing heart, steel is born. Giant hammers shape and form the complex tools of man. Crankshafts that power the wheels of transport. The products of her skills reach every state in the Union, every nation of the world. The Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence Seaway connect Detroit with the principal ports of America and those around the earth. Into her modern airports, the great jets come, bringing people from cities across the land and around the globe. Detroit is alive, aware of other peoples, other nations, other worlds, alive with a new awareness of herself. Detroit people create news that affects the lives of people everywhere. And Detroit people need the news. News of the world, of the nation, of Michigan, of Detroit itself. Because today events and thoughts from everywhere affect their daily lives. The Detroit News and its affiliated radio and TV stations are the complex that fills this need, that senses, records, and distributes knowledge of each day's events. An important part of this complex are radio stations WWJ, AM, and FM, the Detroit News. The world's first regularly scheduled radio station, WWJ, since its founding in 1920, has dedicated itself to public service. Michigan's first television station, WWJ-TV, the Detroit News, does more than entertain metropolitan Detroiters. Since it was founded in 1947, it has devoted time and talent to education, culture, and to covering the highlights of each day's news events, earning for it national as well as community-wide recognition. At the heart of this nervous system that keeps us aware of what in the world is going on is a great newspaper, the Detroit News. Each day, the news brings the world into your home, provides the awareness of the world for each individual. Here is where the awareness starts. In all this movement, news is being created. somewhere in this activity is a reporter. He is alert to you, sensing and recording events which you will read about this evening. On a fast-breaking news story, a reporter often phones in his eyewitness report as the story develops. Every day, a corps of reporters send their stories to the city room, where rewrite men get the facts and quickly write a smooth-flowing news story. All through the day and night, the endless stories from Michigan's largest news-gathering staff flow across the various editors' desks. Throughout the state, reporters and correspondents cover every town and village for news of state and regional interest. In the state capitol, the Detroit News-owned full-time news bureau reports news of Michigan affairs at first hand. In the nation's capital, members of the Detroit News Washington Bureau are daily seeking out national and international news of special interest to metropolitan Detroit families. Back at the news, teletypes pound out the vital stories from the nerve centers of the world. With the speed of light, an electronic network brings news from the Associated Press, United Press International, North American Newspaper Alliance, Reuters International, and other major news-gathering services located throughout the world. All these stories are read and checked for accuracy and local interest by experienced editors. Pictures are news, too. They give eyewitness coverage, adding impact and realism to news events. Every day, hundreds of photos pass over the picture editor's desk. Besides pictures taken locally, telephoto machines bring the best of all foreign and domestic news pictures into the news city room from throughout the nation and the world. There's always something to do, something to see in Detroit. So there's the entertainment side of the news. Good films, plays, symphonies, and musical events are covered and reported in depth for the readers. It's a city of museums, libraries, art galleries, and educational institutions. There's depth and beauty in Detroit living. The scholarly side of the news, good books and art, receive serious treatment in thoughtful columns. Suburban news is covered by a special full-time staff, reporting news from throughout Detroit's burgeoning metropolitan areas. The area's continuing growth and development has heightened interest in the news' expanded coverage and special features on home building, real estate, home modernization, gardening and landscaping. Good food is a delight to everyone, and new recipes are good news to housewives. In the Detroit News-owned test kitchen, each of the hundreds of recipes developed for news readers is thoroughly tested before publication. Awareness extends to many things, so there's news of many facets of life in the community. Weddings, fashions, interior decorating and home furnishings, cheering spectators at big league sports enjoy games in person, but they always want to read about it afterward, along with those who couldn't be there. Sports events are covered by Detroit news writers in every section of the country. They bring eyewitness accounts of the great moments in sports. An outdoor page is of real interest in a state that issues more fishing and hunting licenses than any other. Radio and television provide us with entertainment. Readers get daily previews and reviews of programs. In addition, the News-own pocket-sized TV magazine gives Sunday readers exclusive features, along with complete program listings for the full week ahead. Because banking and finance are important to Detroit's and the nation's economy, people need to be aware of what's going on in the world of investment and business. If you read the business and financial pages, you know. Downtown Detroit offers everything for the shopper. Metropolitan Detroiters are second in the nation in retail buying per family, making nearly 1 million downtown trips every month. And it's the same all around the town. Detroit is the birthplace of the modern shopping center. It's the home of 2 of the largest in the world. Northland alone spreads over 161 acres, has 125 stores, cost $30 million. Altogether, there are more than 50 major shopping centers in metropolitan Detroit, with over 1,200 stores. With all this interest in shopping, readers welcome advertising as part of the news, a herald of better living, a yardstick of market values. Want ads help readers find bargains, jobs, homes to rent, lost pets, just about everything. The main business office of the Detroit News is where the huge volume of advertising is cleared for publication. For more than 30 years, the News has been among the leaders in the world in advertising. Back in 1873, James E. Scripps, the founder of the Detroit News, in his first editorial said,
"Once for all, let it be understood that the paper is what its name imports, a plain but faithful picture of what is going on in the great world around us, and especially in our immediate vicinity."
The wisdom of these words forms the background for Detroit news policy today. Awareness of all the world must go further than a knowledge of events and facts. Qualified men must interpret the news so its meaning and significance can be evaluated. Thus, a good newspaper enters the realm of opinion. The News founder, in his first editorial, also said,
"Americans need not have their opinions molded for them by the newspaper press. Give the public the facts and arguments on both sides, if arguments there be, and they will quickly determine the right or wrong of each case as it comes."
Experienced opinions are expressed each day on an editorial page. Many sides of controversial questions are published. Widely divergent viewpoints appear regularly. Editorial cartoonists explain situations at a glance in Washington, Europe, at home, or throughout the country. The desks of the editorial writers are adjacent to one of the finest newspaper libraries in the world. The more than 26,000 volumes give background and aid in research for editorial material. In the newsroom, the tempo increases as the deadline approaches. The final stories are sent to the composing room. Operators work rapidly at dozens of typesetting machines. Automatically, these wondrous machines cast type in lines or slugs. When a story is complete, proofs are made, and proofreaders check every word. Meanwhile, the engraving department is busy transforming pictures to metal cuts. Picture proofs are made for checking. In the composing room, the type, cuts, and advertisements are assembled into pages. Type pages are made into curved stereotypes or plates to fit the high-speed rotary presses. Each day, nearly 2,000 stereo plates are made and trimmed to exact dimensions. A steady procession moves to the massive high-speed press units. Paper is threaded. It turns and twists its way between the rollers. Finally, everything's ready. At the touch of a button, the mighty presses turn, slowly at first, then gaining speed until they reach the full-throated roar that is music to a pressman's ear. At full speed, these presses can print more than 28 million pages per hour. That's 590,000 48-page newspapers in 60 minutes. And that takes a lot of paper. From the holds of great ships, hundreds of rolls are unloaded. Every day, nearly 300 tons of newsprint speed through the presses. In one edition, enough paper is used to reach from Detroit to Moscow. These presses can print color as well as black and white. First, there's a yellow impression, then a red, then a blue, then the black to complete the picture. And on they come. News stories, features, comics, opinions, facts about the world around us. This daily river of news acts as our eyes and ears, seeing for us what we cannot see, hearing what we cannot hear, going to 1,000 places where we cannot go, not in one lifetime at least. Conveyors route them to a fleet of more than 120 trucks that take them to dealers and carriers throughout the state. A corps of more than 13,000 carrier salesmen, the largest in the nation, delivers the news to Detroit and Michigan homes. At your front door every day, they place the news that is history in the making. News you need to know to be fully aware of the world, aware of the problems, challenges, opportunities, and achievements of our time. The Detroit News has always been concerned with the future of the city, its people, their growth and development. A good newspaper must be a good citizen. It must seek solutions to civic problems. Senior citizens in Detroit, as in other cities, face growing problems. In order to help them help themselves, to give them incentive and satisfying recognition, the Detroit News underwrites the annual Senior Citizens Arts and Crafts exhibit held at the Detroit Historical Museum. Good doctors will always be needed. The News awards 10 major scholarships to outstanding students attending the medical schools at Wayne State University and the University of Michigan. In a big metropolitan area, there are always children who have little opportunity to enjoy healthy outdoor summertime fun. So the Detroit News underwrites a summer day camp, which provides play in the country for thousands of children from congested areas. Back in 1931, the News established the Zoological Park's miniature railway. Its 5-cent fares help pay for the purchase of animals and park improvements. The annual Metropolitan Detroit Science Fair is sponsored by the News and the Engineering Society of Detroit. Each year, thousands of entries are received from junior and senior high school students. Over the years, hundreds of awards have been made, and many $1,000 scholarships have been given. Attendance exceeds 100,000 annually. The annual televised Quizm series on current affairs whets the high school intellect and spurs interest in events of local, national, and international scope. Children's safety is always a concern in this modern age, and more than 1,100 metropolitan Detroit elementary schools and 40 Detroit and suburban police departments participate in the Detroit News award-winning Green Pennant Safety Program. A Green Pennant is awarded to schools achieving 30 consecutive accident-free days. Large school banners are awarded to schools with annual perfect safety records. Scholarship is important too. The annual Scholastic Writing Awards stimulate it. Each year, more than 10,000 entries are received from hundreds of public, private, and parochial schools, and more than 1,000 awards are presented. Every year, the Detroit News invests more than $20,000 in the future of its outstanding carrier salesmen by awarding dozens of major college scholarships. The safety of Detroit citizens depends upon law enforcement. All metropolitan area policemen are eligible to receive the Detroit News Policeman of the Month plaque and cash award for courageous action. As a result of these monthly awards, there is increased public awareness in good law enforcement. The annual Soapbox Derby is famous. It's been co-sponsored for years in Detroit by the News and the Detroit Chevrolet Dealers Association. Parents seem to get just as excited as their children. Hundreds of youngsters participate each year for college scholarships. Each year since 1936, the News has sponsored its annual hole-in-one tourney for golfers who have made a hole-in-one during their careers. Prizes are awarded to amateurs and cash to professionals. Michigan is the nation's water wonderland, and the Detroit News has promoted boating and water recreation for decades, sponsoring such public events as the annual Civic Center Regatta and the International 50-mile Outboard Marathon. Back in 1921, the News, through its conservation columns, began a campaign to establish Isle Royal as a national park. In 1954, this was accomplished. Today, a memorial stands at Isle Royal in honor of the Detroit News writer who spearheaded the campaign. Back in 1940, the Nancy Brown Peace Carillon was dedicated on Belle Isle, built with thousands of dollars in small personal contributions through an appeal in the News. It serves as a focal point for Detroit's annual Easter sunrise services and other interdenominational events. Today, a new civic center stands along the banks of the river after decades of Detroit News campaigning. Today, the St. Lawrence Seaway, first proposed by the Detroit News in 1911, brings the world's great ships to the heart of Detroit. A great newspaper is more than newsrooms and reporters, more than typesetting and stereo plates, more than paper. A great newspaper is your individual awareness of the world around you and the people in it, their actions, their thoughts, their prayers. Every day, new awareness is placed at your doorstep, extending your eyes and ears to new horizons, creating new interests in the exciting world in which you live and in your own hometown.